Hey there, and welcome into another episode of A for Effort, coming to you with another quality and exciting movie review. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, we'd like to start off giving thanks to our unofficial sponsor of the podcast, MoviePass.com. $9.95 a month right now gets you one movie a day at local cinemas in your area. Check MoviePass.com for theater listings in your area. Today's episode, we're going to break down Tomb Raider. It's the reboot of the video game franchise that starred Angelina Jolie back in the early 2000s. I have to start off by saying I have never played any of the Lara Croft video games, Tomb Raider video games, and I never saw the original movies either. People say they're great, but I really was intrigued to see this one because I'm a huge fan of Walton Goggins. I like Alicia Vikander from Ex Machina, so I was really intrigued. Some of the trailers intrigued me. The action seemed good. I was a little underwhelmed by the film as a whole, but I definitely was glad I saw it. So this movie stars Alicia Vikander, like I said, as Lara Croft, Dominic West as her father, Richard Croft, Walton Goggins as Vogel, our antagonist of the film, Daniel Wu as Lou Ren, and Kristen Scott Thomas as Anna Miller. Now, I don't know much about the lore of this character. Like I said, I never played the video games, and I never saw the original movies. So I was kind of glad it was a reboot because it gave me backstory on and allowed me to be introduced to the character from the very beginning. It opens up with a wonderful bike chase scene where she volunteers for this thing called a fox hunt, where they put a can of paint on the back of a bike and she goes off with a head start and people try to chase her down. And I thought that was a really cool intro to the character, and I really enjoyed that scene as a whole. I really enjoyed the action set pieces that the movie had, especially there's one scene that's in the trailers where she is flowing down a river. Something happens to her and she flows down a river, and she drops into this plane that's been there for a long time, and she has to find her way out of it. And it was a really, really intriguing and definitely action-packed set piece. So the plot to this movie is her father is become obsessed with the tomb of Himiko. And the plot to the movie is that she's an ancient queen of Japan, and anything she touched, she killed. And so he became obsessed with finding her tomb, and he goes off and he's missing, and everyone believes him to be dead except for Lara. And so she finally goes in to sign the documents that he could death certificates and everything, and they give her a Japanese puzzle and as part of the will, and she unlocks it and starts to be sent down this path to figure out what happened to her dad and everything that's going on this island that her dad found, and eventually she will find. And it was a very the movie itself was good. It dragged along for me. The plot was good. Like I said, I did enjoy it overall. It fell flat to me because there were some dragging parts, a lot of dialogue, a lot of time in between set pieces. When we finally got to the island, that was pretty good, where we met Walton Goggins' character, where he works for the villain Trinity, who's trying to get this woman's power, this Himiko's power, for themselves. And what I found really intriguing, and what I found that I really liked, was at the end when they finally get into the tomb and she solves all the puzzles to get them into the tomb. She realizes that through some images on the wall and what she knows of the history of Himiko, that the people believed that her generals took her to this island and imprisoned her. But from images on the wall, she realizes that she self-sacrificed, and that it's not magic that is killing people, it's a disease, and that she's a courier. And I like the concept of all magic has a basis in reality. And that really was a good twist that I enjoyed in the film. I have to admit, though, that this movie made me feel like I was watching an Indiana Jones movie. And maybe that's what the video games are. Maybe that's what the originals are, too. And I just didn't realize it because I'd never seen them. But I'm a huge Harrison Ford Indiana Jones fan, and it felt ripped right out of one of those movies, and that is not a dig at this movie in any way, but I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting because I had never seen one of these before. And I'd like to go back and watch the other ones now that I have an idea of what I'm watching. I thought it was good, and I like the female lead of Lara Croft. She was wonderful. The actor as well as the character. I just was like, wow, this is just Indiana Jones. And part of me was kind of turned off by that fact because I'm like, oh, it's just Indiana Jones. Is that all I'm going to get out of this movie? But again, it ended up being a decent film with some good action, some good character development. There was some kind of not so good dialogue in the film that I could have done without. Like I said, Walton Goggins plays a pretty decent villain. Daniel Wu has a small role. He's the lead from Into the Badlands on AMC, and I don't think he's the best of actors, but he does really good kung fu work, and he has a bit of that in here. I really like the style of fighting that Laura has in this movie. I really enjoyed, it starts off with her in an MMA fight with another female, and she gets her butt whooped, and you realize, okay, she's not up to snuff yet. But by the end of the movie, you can realize that she can hold her own against anyone. And I really did enjoy the fact that we used MMA as her style of fighting, and I thought that was a really nice twist on the fighting style. But overall, I have to say, I'm gonna just give it a flat A for effort because I wasn't overly impressed, and I wasn't like, oh, this movie sucks. It's one of those movies where it's middle of the road. Wait for it to come out on the Red Box, wait for it to hit the Netflix or Hulu or one of your TV apps. It's not one of those ones you can see in theaters, or at least I don't think it's necessary unless you have a movie pass. Like I said, I say it in every episode, basically, I'm trying to see as many movies as possible with my movie pass to get my money's worth, and to further this podcast, so I'm going to see as many as I can, and this was one of the ones I told myself I'd see. So, again, it gets a solid A for effort. At the end of this movie, it does a little sequel setup with the Trinity, and, she gets her guns that I think are part of the character. Again, I will go back and watch some of the other work with Angelina Jolie and maybe even play one of the video games, but I don't know much about her. I know I've seen some images where she's holding these patented guns, so I know that there's, this is something. But at the end of the movie, she gets the guns, and that's, set up, she'll be back. I don't know if it necessarily needed, it wasn't a post-credit scene so much as like a Marvel where you have to wait through the entire credits. The movie ends, you see the title card, Tomb Raider, and then this scene plays where she gets her guns. It was definitely one of those ones that's like, hey, we'll be back with a sequel. It could get it. I don't know how well it's doing in the theaters. I know it didn't beat out Black Panther for the week in the box office. That distinction goes the following week. It got a 6-week run where it was holding the top spot in the box office, and this movie didn't overtake it. So that says a lot for Black Panther. It's just one of those movies where it just kind of panders a lot. There's a lot of talk on some of the other shows that I like to listen to about the video game curse and can it be broken. And I'm just not sure there's a movie out there or a video game concept that's really going to break the mold and do a phenomenal movie off of the idea. The next up in this category is Rampage, and we'll see. I mean, The Rock does really well, but the movie might be crap. Who knows? So I'm going to leave on that note. Again, an A for effort. It's decent. It's not great. Like I said, it's definitely one of those movies that you can wait and see, not in theaters if you don't have a movie pass. I hope everyone is enjoying our episodes. I hope I'm not upsetting too many Tomb Raider fans that I didn't like this as much as I'd hoped I would, and I hope I'm not upsetting you that I haven't seen any of the originals to kind of give myself an idea of how good this one is. I'm going to go back and see some of the other movies now, and so I have an idea of whether or not I actually enjoyed this one or not. So that's it for today. Come back and listen to us on our next episode of the podcast. I've been your host, Matt, and this is A for Effort Movie Reviews.